Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I have Vishal, the co-founder of Wize Computing Academy. Vishal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the audience, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Of course, it's great to have you on. So for our listeners who haven't heard about you and your franchise, what exactly do you do?
Certainly. So we are based here in Dallas, Fort Worth. This is where our headquarters are. We are in children enrichment education space. We focus on technology education, coding, robotics, and designing. To young learners starting at age 4, and we go all the way to age 18. We do our classes as after school and enrichment, and we do them at school locations and online. So we offer hybrid approach. We don't need a brick and mortar store, so we actually go out to students as opposed to having students come out to us. We are in the enrichment space. While we use the medium of technology, coding, robotics, designing, our approach is to focus on overall development of a child. We focus both on soft and hard or tech skills. We're looking at cognitive development of a child as well. So we want to make sure that we give every child the opportunity to become creator and not just the user of technology.
I love that because you're using what is now a fairly hot trend of like STEM boot camps, after school
Right.
programs to also help develop those finer soft skills, that you don't necessarily learn in traditional ways.
That's right. Absolutely. So, my background, we still consider ourselves to be a tech company in the education space. So we're from technology background, held multiple positions in large organizations, have teams of hundreds of people working with me. So, as when you get started, it's the tech skills that let you in the door. But to really be effective, to be successful, it really depends on your soft skills, your interpersonal skills. You're able to work as a team. You're able to convince other people. Your ability to work with others in a constructive fashion. So we want to make sure that we inculcate those skills at the very young age, at the age that is a formative age for this young learners.
That's genius because just learning and one very important word I want to call out that you mentioned is constructively, right? Like constructively providing feedback, constructively working, with others. And as you mentioned, you're doing it in those like crucial formative years.
That's
So I'm
right.
sure it helps you, the children that you work with just develop amazing life skills.
Absolutely. I mean, when they come, especially robotics, or when you're building a mobile app, or you're working on any sort of really fun project, the natural tendency for these young learners is to say, "Hey, I want to do it myself." Right? So what we really want to teach them is, you can do what you're doing here yourself, but eventually you have to learn to be working with a team. So you have to be able to convince the other person of what your idea is, and learn and incorporate their good ideas into what you're trying to do. So those are really important skills that unfortunately are not being taught even at school today. So we feel like what we provide complements really well to what these learners are learning at school. We let them apply the knowledge. We were a big believer in learning by doing. So we let them sort of express themselves through our projects, and our projects are not where we give them clear instructions step by step. Only when they have to we give them, but otherwise we allow them to express themselves, right? So the idea is, this is what we are doing, but we encourage them to go above and beyond that.
Awesome. I love that. So Vishal, you mentioned at the start that you came from a technology background. So what got you into franchising?
That's a great question. So my wife and I, we are co-founders. Her name is Venus. So we always wanted to do something of our own. We had this entrepreneur bug, if you want to call it that. And we have two girls and a boy, so we have three kids of our own. And when our elder one, when she was about 6, we felt that everyone was getting so good at using cell phones and tablets, any technology, right? But there's no outlet for them to actually create stuff. And if you think about this technology is the paintbrush and paper of current times, right? With paintbrush, paper, and pen and paper, I mean, of course, those are important things, but through this technology, you can really express yourself. You can express yourself in multi-dimensional ways, videos and voiceovers and animation. It gives you so much opportunity to really be creative. So we said, we decided that we'd start something like this, and we built Wize Computing Academy from there on. And then, of course, we wanted to scale. So to scale, you have multiple options. You can create your own, branches and expand in multiple cities. But then we looked into franchising, and we felt that franchising is certainly a much more stronger model than doing it yourself, because one, you are looking for people who are just as hungry as you to become an entrepreneur and be their own boss and be successful. Two, they are actually coming into your system as opposed to you finding them. So they are wanting to come into your system. So, and also, it's a well proven fact, and we've seen it over and over again, that a franchise owner is definitely much more successful than a manager in a company. So for those reasons, we felt that franchising is really a much better way to expand. So as far as expansion goes, we're looking at franchising as one arm, and second is online. So we're looking at also growing in an online space too. So both sides.
Very cool. And yeah, you brought up a good point, right? Like as a franchisee, having skin in that game just gives you that extra like extra motivation to
That's right.
go, that extra mile to delight customers.
Yep, absolutely. It makes a huge difference because the whole point of franchising is that you are in the business for yourself, but not by yourself, right? They have the support. They have this model that has worked elsewhere. It's a successful model, and they're trying to replicate. Of course, not everything can be replicated as is. That's where the support that we provide is critical to them. But really, they are trying to be successful, as successful or better than what they see elsewhere. And all they need is support and the framework that we provide. So that's the idea that we go with. And we still strongly believe that that's the right thing to do.
Very cool. So what have some of your biggest learnings so far franchising? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So it's a longer cycle to find the right franchise partner, right? As we award our franchisees, the we're very particular about who we want to bring into our extended franchise family. It's a two-way street. Our platform should work for them and vice versa. So it's certainly a long cycle, especially when you're an emerging franchisor. It's a little bit more interesting and tougher, but it's a great learning experience. So that's one that we've seen. The other is, and especially what we do, what we're looking for in a franchisee is somebody who's really passionate about making a difference in their community, right? So somebody who's plugged into the community, somebody who really sees that what we do is certainly going to make a difference, and it's going to provide value to the learners in their community that they did not have before. So finding the right set is something that we are more focused on. So it takes a little bit more time, but we feel that once you have a franchisee sign the agreement, uh, you basically invite them into your family. It's a long-term relationship. So we'd rather have it with the right like-minded people. So we spend a lot of time doing that. The other thing about franchising is I tell this to everybody, and I've taken some entrepreneurship courses at MBA schools and things like that. It's not taught by anywhere. You just have to learn it by yourself, and which is such a pity. Trillions of dollars of money gets exchanged and made in this industry. The biggest companies in the world are franchisees, and there is really nothing in the school that teaches you about franchising. I think there's a huge gap that should be addressed in MBA schools and grad schools. And I really think that there should be a course on, franchising and best practices around it as well.
That's such a good point. I never really took a step back and thought about that. Like franchising is like obviously huge, but it's never really taught anywhere, right? Like
Right.
you have to go to industry events, meet mentors and do all that learning, but there's no real structured, okay, like, I'm going to go take my MBA. I'm also going to learn about franchising there.
That's right. Exactly. Absolutely. Like if you're learning about entrepreneurship in MBA or business in general, I mean, franchising is certainly worth having one or two subjects on because it is specific. You have to know how to market, you have to know how to position yourself, and general business skills do translate, but there are certainly some things that are specific to franchising that I think our students should be sort of taught and armed with as they get into the workforce.
Totally. So speaking of marketing, what have been some of the most successful marketing campaigns that, that you've ran so far?
Certainly. So, we sort of look at both inward and outbound marketing. So, of course, having information on social media outlets, having right information on our website, all that makes a huge difference because that's how people find us. However, really reaching out to people, whether it is in person or online, you can't really replace that. And especially when you're an emerging brand, I think that's a key thing. So, we speak at a lot of events. I myself speak at 1 Million Cops, which is from Kaufman Foundation. It's basically around the US and I think around the world now, where people meet every Wednesday and, one or two entrepreneurs show up and talk about their idea or their business, and others get to sort of ask questions and provide feedback. So platforms like that are really good. We've actually gotten one of our franchise owners from one of the 1 Million Cups organization, meetings. So reaching out to people, meeting people, and just telling them your story. There's no, I think, better way. Of course, it's not a scalable model, but it's really important. One of the key sort of cogs in what you do. The other thing that we, I think, have been able to get a lot of leads on are from our portals and also participating in franchise business consultants as well.
Very cool.
So as you can tell, it's sort of a multi-pronged approach. There isn't one great answer. I wish there was, but we haven't found one if there is.
Yeah. And you bring up such a good point. It's doing those unscalable things to help you scale. It's
Right.
sort of an oxymoron, but it ends up working.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And the passion that you have, the originality that you have as a founder and as original folks who started, I think that tells something about about the company as well.
Mhm.
So, and also with this online medium, it's actually made it a lot easier to reach out to much more people. Podcast is one. Just having Zoom conversations with people, or meeting in platforms like 1 Million Cups, I think is really good.
Mhm. So you talked about the kind of franchise development side of growth, like with the portals and speaking and these conventions. How about on the consumer side? What are you doing to drive growth there?
We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
Absolutely. So actually, yeah, I think I missed that part of the question that when you originally asked. So on the consumer side, we're looking at direct to consumer, which is direct to families, and we're also looking at creating a long-term relationship with host locations. And host locations for us are schools, preschools, all kinds of schools, private, public, charter schools, and preschools as well. And also we engage with community centers, with churches, with temples, because keep in mind our approach is no brick and mortar store of our own, but use the location that exists today and go reach out to students where they already are and do our teaching there. So, we sort of Airbnb to what Airbnb is to hotels, right? So similar model. It keeps our cost low, and also we can optimally use the infrastructure that exists already out there, right? So, with that in mind, reaching out direct to consumers, families, we do a lot of marketing, social media, advertising, Google, Facebook, those type of things. That's sort of standard things that we do. A lot of word of mouth as well. I think having a 5-star rating on Google and Facebook certainly helps. Having those testimonials from parents, video testimonials from parents, and also testimonials from our current franchise owners help as well. As far as reaching out to schools, we do a lot of volunteering at schools. We connect with PTA, organize PTA as well, and just uh, being a strong member of community makes a huge difference. And advertising, participating in events that are held at school, all those things together really, I think eventually what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell people that here we are providing a service, and we are also part of the community. Our own kids go to the same schools that we are in. So I think that those things make a big difference. So those are the things we do on the consumer side and also on the B2B side.
Very cool. And it's really smart of you to be partnering with these hosts. I believe you call them, because it helps create almost like a stickier model for like on your consumer side. It helps build brand awareness, community involvement. I love that. I love that. That was very like ding light bulb moment for me.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I think that makes a huge difference. So if you think about what separates a large organization from, a relatively smaller organization, is really the value you provide and how you can make a difference in people's lives, and add that sort of value that they did not have before.
Mhm.
And we can't compete with the large organizations on their advertising budgets, but what we can do is we can provide a much better service, a much enriched platform and curriculum. And also the other thing that we do is we work a lot on communication. So our transparency with schools, our transparency with parents, is one of the differentiators that we think we have amongst from our competitors. And also, getting this third party validation, right? We can say all day long that we have the best curriculum, the most forward looking approach of teaching, but really taking our students to this third party coding and robotic competitions, and where they perform well, that provides this third party validation that, of course, yes, what these people are doing makes sense, right? So,
Awesome.
so really sort of looking at it from a, you know, divorcing yourself from the whole situation and looking at it in a holistic way is what I think we try to do, and we sort of want to keep doing more of that.
Awesome. I love it. So, Vishal, one question I always love to ask guests is what advice would you give someone just starting out as a franchisor?
Oh, yeah, great. So, one of the things as a so the key difference in a franchisee and a franchisor is a franchisee typically comes into your system because they like the fact that there is a system, a replicatable model. You become a franchisor because you think that you will make a system that doesn't exist today. So it's a different mindset. So with that mindset, speaking, personally, many times, you want to sort of say, hey, I can figure out certain things that perhaps have not been done before, right? I think it is very important to choose what your core competencies are and only try to do sort of dig deeper into those, and the areas that are not your core competency. I think it's very important to see what has actually worked in the marketplace before and adopt some of those. You don't have to be a trailblazer in everything you do, right? Pick your battles and pick the things that are core to the business that you are in, and try to do the best there. But other aspects, you can certainly sit on the shoulders of giants that others have done, and they work well. Just adopt them, right? So as opposed to trying and figure everything out yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point because I think a lot of franchisors come in with a mindset of, hey, like I need to build a system from scratch. I need to do it all myself. And maybe it's just like their mindset, maybe it's a little ego, what have you. But it's a good point. Leverage resources out there, leverage systems and processes that are already out there, and it'll just help you grow faster.
Right, absolutely. And we're living in the world of cloud computing and software as a service and everything, anything as a service, for that matter, right? So let's leverage what's out there as opposed to try and create everything yourself. I think the main thing is focus on the core business, right? We spend pretty much try to spend 100% of our time on our core business, right? We don't try to reinvent the wheel on, okay, how do we build a registration system? We're not in the business of building a registration system. We can use a software as a service, off the shelf product to do that. So just sort of keeping in mind what your main priorities are and what differentiates you from the others, I think is probably the main thing that I'd share with others.
That's great advice. So, Vishal, we are coming near the end of the episode, and I like to end all of them with something that I call the lightning round. So, it's just a few fast paced questions coming at you. Are you ready?
Sure, certainly.
Awesome. So, my first question is what is your favorite tool or app that you cannot live without?
Oh, that's it is so hard to pick one. Um, I would say these days, because we are so global and trying, we're sort of expanding globally, especially in the online space. I'd say WhatsApp. It's the main communication app that people don't use here in US much, but elsewhere, lots of people use it. So that is one of the apps that I've been using a lot recently to just communicate with people around the world.
Totally. Yeah. WhatsApp it's amazing. Next question. What is your favorite book?
There's so many. I think sticking to business and franchising, I would say the E-Myth is probably the book that anyone or everyone should read to really, as they get started, to really understand how do you create a platform, how do you create a framework, how do you create repeatable models in the business that are sort of key to your success. If you don't do them correctly, You get intertwined with day-to-day activities. So I think E-Myth would be one of the books that I recommend to anybody.
Awesome. Yeah. E-Myth is fantastic. Next question is, who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
I would say, the franchise consultant that we have, we consult with Franchise Doctor, and Jim, he's been in franchising for about 35 or so years. So very strong business franchising background. And, I use Jim all the time as a sounding board to really share ideas. And he uses me for the same reason. So I'd say him.
Awesome. All right, Vishal, last question, I promise. Where can people find out more about you and your franchise?
Certainly. It's wizeacademy.com, WIZE academy.com. Email is info@wizeacademy.com. They can reach out to me personally at phone number 214-226-4595. I'll repeat that, 214-226-4595. My name is unique enough. If you do a search on LinkedIn, you will certainly find me, and do Vishal Bhasin, Wize Academy, you'll certainly find me there.
Awesome. Vishal, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure and blast. You dropped a ton of knowledge bombs, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for having us. We certainly appreciate it and appreciate all your good questions. I love the casual feel to it, so keep it up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.